The Ray Corollary Initiative is a detailed plan for action to increase the number of diverse persons selected as arbitrators and mediators. The RCI uses a 30% metric in the final selection process and relies on measurable results. But where did the 30% number come from? Who uses it and why? The Ray Corollary Initiative is named after Charlotte Ray, who graduated from Howard University School of Law in 1872 and was the first Black woman to be admitted to the bar in the United States. Charlotte Ray blazed a trail, but the practice of law and arbitration still has a problem in achieving diversity in its ranks. This data, published by McKinsey in 2017, shows that law firm first-year associate classes across North America start out with roughly equal numbers of men and women, and then the number of women and men of color and white women who stay gradually diminish. In this one industry closely connected to arbitration, we can see the problem of a narrowing pipeline of diversity. How is it being addressed? Well, it's being addressed with the 30% principle and the adoption of the Mansfield rule, which we'll talk about in turn. Where did the 30% principle come from? It came from a groundbreaking article in Harvard Business Review. If there's only one woman in your candidate pool, there's statistically no chance she'll be hired. This research was published by the University of Colorado's Leeds School of Business professors, Stephanie Johnson, David Heckman, and PhD candidate Elsa Chan. In their research, they found the following. When there was only one woman or minority candidate in a pool of 4 finalists, their odds of being hired were statistically 0. But when we created a new status quo among the finalist candidates by adding just one more woman or minority candidate, the decision makers actually considered hiring a woman or minority candidate. Professor Johnson shows the data this way. In the composition of finalist pools, when there's only one woman and three men, her chances of being hired are 0. But when we increase by just one woman to have 2 in the finalist pool, her odds of being hired go up to 50%. The get 2 in the pool effect represents an important first step for overcoming unconscious bias and ushering in the racial and gender balance that we want in organizations. That's what Professor Johnson has to say. Her research, along with Heckman and Chan's, was groundbreaking for 2 reasons. It gave industries an opportunity to counteract bias with action, and it gave industries the opportunity to measure against a set of data to see if it was replicable. So has it been put into practice? Yes, with the Mansfield rule. The idea for the Mansfield rule came from the 2016 Women in Law Hackathon, created and organized by Diversity Lab, a nonprofit that implements the Mansfield rule in practice with support from Stanford Law School and Bloomberg Law. It's named for the first woman lawyer admitted to the practice of law in the United States, Arabella Mansfield. The Mansfield rule was originally inspired by the NFL's Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview ethnic minority candidates for head coaching and senior operation positions. With the Mansfield rule certification process launched by Diversity Lab in 2017, firms were required to measure and confirm that their candidate pools were at least 30% diverse, including women and underrepresented racial and ethnic lawyers as a starting point when hiring senior associates and partners, promoting into the equity partnership, and selecting leaders for management roles. LGBTQ+ lawyers and lawyers with disabilities were added in later iterations of the rule. And where has it been adopted? At law firms all over the US, Canada, and the UK. As of 2021, that group is 160 of the leading law firms, along with 90 US mid-sized law firms and 90 US-based legal departments. The principle is simple. At least 30% of candidates considered for open positions are underrepresented in the field. And what's the effect of this been? Since 2017, an analysis of the early adopter firms finds that they're succeeding in the rule's intended purpose of increasing diversity in top leadership and are significantly outpacing similarly sized non-Mansfield rule firms in doing so. Mansfield early adopters have diversified their management committees at more than 30 times the rate of non-Mansfield firms. So the Mansfield rule works. And what's driving this change? clients. As you can see from this Bloomberg Law article, Coca-Cola General Counsel, tired of good intentions, wants firm diversity now. The clients that are hiring law firms, legal departments, are saying that their law firms that are hired need to be as diverse as the companies that they are working for. Diversity Lab's website hosts a list of the different companies and their requirements and efforts at diversity for your additional information. But how does this all connect to the Ray Corollary Initiative? RCI is founded on the research developed by Diversity Lab, and RCI is modeled after the Mansfield Rule. In its first 6 months, RCI principles have been adopted by Amtrak, the Police Termination Arbitration Board of Philadelphia, the National Rural Letter Carriers Association, and the International Institute for Conflict Prevention and Resolution. For both the Mansfield Rule and RCI, the principle is the same. A nonprofit entity creates a standard, 30% diverse candidates in pools for selection, and organizations and businesses can choose to affiliate themselves with the standard. RCI has been endorsed by the National Academy of Arbitrators in the selection of neutrals as a practice to increase diversity in arbitration. As a practice, the data is clear. A more diverse roster of neutrals creates more opportunities for arbitration for individuals from underrepresented groups and is the current best practice to truly achieve a more diverse field.